And it is After Hours with your two favorite After Hours individuals, the great Jared George and the other guy. I hope you all are doing well tonight, today, whatever the time is for you. Of course, on the East Coast of the United States, it is just after 7 p.m., a hair after 7 p.m. How are you all doing? Can you hear me okay? Are we coming through okay? All of the signals appear to be good and strong. I see Raymond is here. Great to see you, brother. Mr. George, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Are we on VK and Facebook and all that?
We are.
That's listed on our site. So you go to the show info page, and when Entropy's up, you can watch it on the afterparty.tv too. Oh, and look at that. The next shows are not updated. Look at that. I should have put today's show. So excuse me. It's not on the site, but we do know who's going to be on tap this week. So we'll reveal that a little bit later.
Yes, we do.
So a little bit about that, but it's just a relaxed stream tonight. Checking in on our Tuesday nights for a little while.
Yes, indeed. We're still pulling in. Both of us have just run into right in front of our cameras, right into our offices, so we can in front of you all just in time tonight. Who all is here? Boy, Christopher is here. It's been a while. Good to see you again. He writes, well, good to see you as well. Never felt guilty. Traversing the Divide. Great to see you putting out more and more great music every time I turn around. Great Justin Lee, Timmy Bobinson. Good evening to you as well. Great to see you all. Well, what's going on for you all tonight? What are your concerns? What are you looking at in the news? Who are you afraid of? Who are you mocking? Whatever you all want to talk about tonight. Of course, we have some good news stories on. Hello over there on the gardening channel.
I didn't know tonight is the State of the Union.
It is, and I am.
We always seem to stream. I guess Tuesdays a lot happens in politics. It'll be November 3rd. It'll be the presidential election. We'll come on. Hey, it's our weekly Tuesday after hours check-in, and not even aware that there's a presidential election going on in the United States. That's. I guess you go to other people for that minute by minute news analysis. Oh, someone went up 3/4 of a point. Someone went down 7/8 of a point. What does it mean? What does it mean? We do know there's things going on, and our tap guest this week might be able to talk to a lot of these different things, but in a fun way, in an interesting way. But I know there was the whole debacle with the Democrats yesterday in Iowa and the caucus, and just recently announcing these results that Sanders was edged out by Buttigieg. Is that how you even say his name? I don't even know.
Something Buttigieg, something.
I mean, you can't write this stuff. That the guy is has a certain persuasion, let's say, and that's his name. But they're really not doing themselves any favors, are they? With this app that they wanted to get up for the voting, and then it didn't even work. It was chaos.
What a surprise! With all of that equality, you would think that everything would just go beautifully. For them. We know that, of course.
You say give us the line. Yes.
Well, if you have equality, you can't have excellence. And eventually you can't even have competence. And that is indeed the case everywhere we look across the United States. And it's been this way for 20 years now. I mean, thank God that we don't have an anti-white regime in Washington, D.C. and all of these state governments of the 1950s, because that was a bunch of white people who were intelligent and industrious, and they would have been finding 1,000 ways to shut things down. Thank God we have to deal with this diversity regime.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting angle. The anti-white tribunals are going to be filled with diversity, of course. It has to be equal, and thus that's going to play to our advantage. That's a very interesting angle.
It does indeed play to our advantage, and delighted. I could not be more delighted that they have, in fact, more equality for you all in the government and at the universities. And
we push it there.
More and more equality. You have to take all of the white people out. No white people in governance, no white people at the head of these universities or coming up with ideas. None of them. Do not allow them in there. In fact, I saw a tweet. Who was this? It was the great Way of the World, who was saying that there's only two sides now in politics: white positive and anti-white. And God bless him. and he showed a video clip. This was on a tweet of his where it was, or that he shared at least, where there was this anti-white, non-white, and then an anti-white white guy. And this is your typical like head up his ass as far as it can go, white anti-white. And he goes out there and he's trying to commiserate with this anti-white, non-white, as though they have some sort of common cause. I mean, they do in the sense that they both want to inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. But for the anti-white, non-white, that means something very different. It means this pasty guy as well, who's going to be devoured by the anti-white, non-white regime. And so this guy's coming out there and he says, oh, you got the wrong guy. That this white fool is out there saying, oh, I grew up in the projects, so I know what I'm talking. As though it matters, white people. It doesn't matter. We all know this. You will be devoured by the anti-white machine as well. It won't matter. You can point to all of the things you've done through life that were anti-white and all of the harm you caused Western kind of Western civilization. It won't be good enough. You're still white. You still have the biospirit of the West inside of you, and you will be punished for that. And what did this non-white, anti-white say? He said, as soon as these cameras are gone, I'm going to beat the whatever out of you. He said, in fact, he said at the very beginning of the conversation, that he wanted him, this is the non-white anti-white saying to the white anti-white. The non-white anti-white said that he wanted the white anti-white dead. He said he wanted him dead. And I retweeted this. So this is exactly the kind of thing that I said would happen, has been happening over the past few years, proving me right. And we're seeing these white anti-whites beginning to flee anti-whiteism, of all these different ilks of anti-whiteism, all these different sort of subgenre of what it means, all these different names that are meaningless for us in our story. So never repeat them, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody is a liberal. Nobody is a progressive. Nobody's a Democrat. You only say these things if you have to give a police report. When it is important for us, it is anti-whites. When it matters for us, when we're talking about us in our story, it's anti-whites. When we're talking about non-white people, never break them down into the constituent non-white groups. First of all, you don't want to single out folks unless you're singling out an individual. They're just non-white people. You got white people and you have non-white people. That is how we view the world. Non-white is neutral. It's not like they do with the word or the saying POC, pox, where they are excluding us from humanity. No, non-white just means that you're not white. Now, in that category of non-white, you have people who are going to be white positive, and we welcome them with both arms. You have people who are going to be anti-white, and we dislike them no more, no less than the anti-whites that are white. Just like we saw this white loser out there. We dislike the both of them because we are acknowledging the decision they have made, whether white or non-white, that they have both decided to be anti-whites. We acknowledge that decision. And then we recognize them as victimizers of our people, our civilization, our children, our grandchildren, our inheritance, etc. Now, I want to say briefly here that Fraulein is here. Wonderful to see you, my dear lady, a wonderful participant.
Her dog's birthday is tomorrow.
Her dog's birthday is, well, happy.
I think it's a German Shepherd, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
I see Lil Frigg. Now, Fraulein has asked about one of the No White Guilt Facebook groups. I think there are a couple that are No White Guilt Facebook groups or loosely the same thing, and asking about blessings on rules. I'm not running any of the Facebook groups. I'm not looking at any rules for Facebook groups. I'm not checking off on rules for Facebook groups. I'm not participating in any way, in any leadership way, or monitoring or observing on a daily basis. As you all might imagine, I am just, as you saw, Jared George, practically there was still a blur behind him as he flew into the seat just in time, rushing from one thing to the next to get through the day. I'm just like that. So I really don't have time to do this. Now, if you want to start a Facebook group or a VK group or something like this, for those who are serving white well-being, for those who are going free, a group that will maybe be more in tune with how you feel and your personality, and maybe there'll be a great many more that will feel the same way and feel comfortable with you, then I can't stop you from starting one. And if you all are amicable, and I will become a member of it. But I'm not going to look at any bylaws, or I'm not going to be responding to complaints from this or that. These are groups that you all can form if you like or not, be a member of or not. They are just things that you all can do among yourselves. So I am not looking at any rules or approving conduct or anything like that. The only thing that we observe here in the work that we do is the kind of conversation that takes place on these platforms. So I just simply can't try to control or observe or whatever all of these different potential groups. I mean, conceivably, ladies and gentlemen, and what we absolutely want and expect to happen, that we all are the proselytizers. We are the apostles of going free. There are going to be a great many millions of people who are going to come to going free in service to white well-being. And there are going to be a lot of Facebook groups. There are going to be a lot of VK groups. There are going to be a lot of different kinds of groups out there. And I'm obviously not going to be able to be observing and modifying or curtailing any of that. So if there's an environment that you're unhappy with, then go ahead, and I can't stop you from creating your own. And if creating your own, it goes supernova and you all get out there into the world and you are bringing more and more people to service of white well-being and going free, then I will absolutely become a participant in those activities, and I will salute you and hail you, and we will recognize you. Maybe you get big enough, there'll be the kind of thing that we would definitely want to have you on tap to talk about your successes. In fact, we have more successes. We have quite a few more people from around the world. This continuing from January now into February, people reaching out from around the world, across the United States, of course, Canada, Europe, all the way on the other side of the world, Australia, New Zealand, and folks wanting more leaflets. They want to participate. Folks finding stickers posted places, and it's absolutely marvelous. So organically happening, we continue to grow. People are seeing marvelous things happening. I've received some really just heartfelt messages recently that I can't even still try.
Maybe we should have an after hours soon where it's all messages. I mean, not all messages. It'll be commentary and questions in between, but that's the focus.
Right.
People will sign off. Well, not sign off. They'll give their blessing that we can read it on air. May need to not mention names or anything, but give some of those. I think that could be a good after hours in the next coming weeks. Make a focus of all that.
Right, yeah.
I had Hendrickson in the chat. Hello, Hendrickson. I don't know how new you are. If you're new, welcome. I know your first comment was about doing these at times better for the older world, for Europe. We certainly do have a lot of guests on our shows that are in Europe, and we try our best to make it very international. We're very blessed to have friends and colleagues around the world. It's just this particular Tuesday night show, this is the time that works for us right now. But as this grows and there's more and more time that we could put into all this, then maybe that'll change. But right now, we do like to check in on Tuesday nights. And we know it is a little late in Europe, but we usually go later. This is a little early. We usually do it at about 9 o'clock Eastern U.S. time. We start at 7 tonight. So we keep you on your toes. It changes a little bit. But we certainly do plenty of shows on afternoons. A lot of the taps, not this week, but a lot of the taps are on Thursday afternoons, and that's a good time. It's usually like 9 or 10 over in Europe. So that works out too. Oh, and you also said, Hendrickson, this is originally why I mentioned it, to enlighten us on hell. Well, I can't give it all away. I did release last week the Red Ice video that I produced with Henrik. Of course, if you like it, please thank Henrik too, because it's his video editing skills and production that really makes it come to life. It's always a joy to work with him. But yeah, the 4th installment of my collaboration with them is out, and it's on that word hell. A lot more to it than some people may know. But I can't give it all away now. You have to go watch the video. So it's on our site with all the links. It's on the redice.tv site with all the links to the different places you can watch it. And also, please consider becoming a Red Ice member on that note if you have not already. Give them a little support each month so you can see some exclusive footage, exclusive content behind the paywall on their site.
Indeed, very well said. We do have Sean became a member of the channel. Thank you so much. Just I guess before we started stream. Oh no, it was actually earlier during the day today. It looks like, if this is to be believed, I hope it is. If Sean is here, though, I'd like to ask you, and if anybody who has become a member, I guess just anybody who's become a member, did you, when you became a member, did you receive the message there? I think it's supposed to be an automatic message welcoming you. If so, let me know. And I'm wondering if that's the case, if I put up a second message, if that's the message that ends up going out first, or if people still receive that first message and then just have access to subsequent messages. So I'd appreciate that. Justin Lee here says, before he quit Facebook in December, he shared an episode of No White Guilt. One of his nephews totally misunderstood why I felt guilty. He didn't watch it, obviously. Well, he didn't watch it, and that's a shame, but I hope he will, moving forward, get some of those shorter clips that we are making, and Johnny is making, and they're going up on the site. He's getting back to work again, and we thank him deeply for that.
Yeah, we have a clips page on the Tap TV site too. And one of the more recent ones is you'll see it's pretty well titled, but it'll take you to the Johnny Scythe clips that he made from Jason's Going Free streams. So it'll take you to a playlist that has something like 30 clips, a lot of stuff. And the Going Free streams are going to be going up on the Tab TV site too, with minutes broken, not like by the minute, but see, I'm all over the place tonight. I keep mincing my words. Minutes more the way like minutes are in a meeting.
Yeah.
Little notes about each show, the content of each Going Free stream. So that'll really help you be able to navigate them or send parts to people with different juicy tidbits or relevant topics for different people in your lives. So
yeah,
we're working on all that right now.
Yeah, and precisely. And there should be something, hopefully, for your nephew, brother, and you'll find that. Send that to him, and we'll get into him and to get him going free. We have Justin saying that he received a welcome message. Zed says didn't receive an automated message, though got a message from Seaver when joined. Mr. Booga said I got a welcome email. So it looks Fraulein said no welcome email. Isn't this all over the place? Just like the equality we see from everything else across the West. Thank God that they have chosen, while we pursue this track of greater nobility, greater in industry, greater intelligence, greater accountability, etc. We pursue this track of success. They are pursuing the track to hell with all equality. Nobody's to blame. It's everybody's. It's democracy, so nobody can be blamed. And the competency continues to circle the drain. I love it. Every year it gets worse for them and better for us. Just imagine these people are going to be like biting each other's faces off, like those people we saw on bath salts a couple years ago, where they were getting hyped up on that drug and then running naked through the streets. And that's how I guess what the anti-whites want for the world, anyhow, and chewing faces off each other. That's what's going to be happening right in the middle of governance in the United States. I'm sure it's already happening at the universities. Apple Pie says, used to be pink socks. Got rid of that inappropriate and offensive username. Well, it's great to see you as Apple Pie. That's a wonderful name. So thank you so much. JC is here. Hello, everybody. So we got stories going on. What does everybody want to hear about? Hansa is here. There are a few stories I pulled up randomly.
I hope they're not too random.
Well, they're not totally like
Tulip production in Holland is up by 3.8%.
Right.
Let's have a 45-minute conversation about that.
Yes, that might be interesting because we never discussed such a thing.
It might be more wholesome than a lot of the things that are out right now.
We do have this. Well, I have to say before you start, I've had more than a handful now of magnificent artists reach out to me when I crowdsourced. I reached out to the community, because I need to have a handful of illustrations done in Prometheus Rising, the standalone edition, which is being worked on. And right now it's still on schedule for March 1st. Very excited about this, because this is where I really think this is going to be the staying power. This is going to go the distance. It's really setting us up for a lot of things in the future, doing a lot of really great work in the future. And so marching right along, and I asked folks for help, and I showed some examples of the quality I was looking for, and then an example of what I was hoping no one would end up turning in, as I've listened to this sort of thing or not listened, but seen this sort of thing in the past, dealing with so many artists. Now, by the way, the artists, the sketch artists, the artists who draw that I was dealing with were drawn from the general population. So this is not a to disparage artists in the white positive sphere, and more pointedly, artists who are in our corner of the white positive sphere, the sphere that is serving white well-being. Because everyone who has, I have as I say, more than a handful of people, more than I can actually put to work, I think, but have reached out and said, I can draw that quality. And I say, well, can I see some examples? And they give me examples, and magnificent. Yes, they can. Now, when I had all of the issues where everybody knows, or most people do, when I had the issues with Born Guilty, I had originally a little over, right around 500 sketches made. I think there were a little over 200 in there that ended up making it into the actual, because the book was even larger than this. And I was drawing from the general public. Of course, I originally reached out to the white positive sphere, and there was just such an impotent response back then that I said, screw it. I went out to the general public and looked for assistance, looked for people to hire. And I did get these absolutely crazy people who said, yes, I can do exactly that, what you're showing me, and what you're writing out in lengthy and exhaustive detail. I can do all of that. And then they would disappear for a bit, and then they would come back, and then the date when they were supposed to be done would go by, and then they would come back and they would say, I'm still working. And then so it was just all of this. And then finally a product would come in, and it would be nothing even remotely close. I mean, something, if the quality that I'm looking for is, if we put it through the school years, is university. Some of these people, not kidding whatsoever, would give to me something from like third grade. And what could I say to them? What are you even thinking? And so I had to warn folks, because that was my experience. But I have had nothing but very talented people reach out. I guess maybe people in the white positive sphere, and more specifically those serving white well-being, they know how to sort themselves. I can definitely do that, and I can't do this. I just I don't know. But yeah, I had some marvelous people reach out, including Donnie. Secret Sources is a magnificent artist. Did you know this, Jared?
Oh, wow. Yeah. We're gonna have to have her on.
Yes.
And she sent you something.
Yes.
That's great. I'm learning about this for the first time.
I was very impressed, and so she is now added to the pool of these magnificent, very talented people. And I'm going to try to find. In fact, I'm probably going to end up with maybe some more artwork than I had intended, because I would rather give these people work. And as I said, I am going to pay them. I just hope that they don't ask for the kind of sum of money that they would ask for from Mr. Pi, because I don't have it. So they'll be worth more than I'm able to pay, but nonetheless.
You don't have that a billion subscriber money yet.
I don't have that yet.
Well, yeah, what you were talking about a moment ago, and I know we've touched on this before, it is a product of that general culture that we hinted at earlier with this app, the Democrat thing. Even if it's in our circle, sometimes it affects people, where everybody gets a trophy. That's how people were raised. Not knowing your limits, or not having any kind of, I think there's a dogfight going on inside my door. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if anyone can hear that. Not an actual dogfight, don't worry. The innocent kind. But yeah, I've mentioned that I've had similar situations with trying to find musicians, not now, but for other projects in the past. Although I will be doing music in the future with all this. But people who would be like, oh yeah, I can drum, and then not even be able to do just basic things like keep keep time. Like the most basic thing a drummer needs to do is to keep steady time. And wasting my time at rehearsal studios, and it's like I'm a better drummer, and I'm not really a drummer. I just fool around for a few minutes pick a few things up, but I'm a better drummer than this guy. And it's like the culture that has been created with this everyone gets a trophy mentality is just keeping people in this state of, I don't even know if it's perpetual adolescence, because I feel like even back in the day, adolescents had more grit and were probably tested more and put through things and understood their talents. And it's great to want to go beyond where you currently are. Obviously, no one would grow if they didn't. But to not have any of that wherewithal, and like you said, you put out a call for artists and you need certain things, you need a certain level of competence, and you're getting stuff that a third grader could do. It's well, it really it needs no further commentary. I think everyone here knows what's up with that and what it's doing to our society. And yes, that is one thing about what the circles that we're in here as well. It's not, of course, it's about reclaiming our destiny and getting back in touch with our heritage and our peoplehood. But it's also about that excellence and those high standards and holding each other to that and wanting to make each other better. That is what's very exciting and where a lot of the juice is, because think of all the people who, on the positive side of this, this is something we've been talking about a lot with a lot of guests, as you know, Jason, is that idea of the talent that doesn't have anywhere to go. Mm-hmm. Because you think that all of these fields and media and the arts, it has to be in the milieu of the anti-white regime. And now all of these people are like, oh man, I can start developing this more, collaborating with people in a culture, in a group of people who share my values. And I don't think it's too much to say it can save lives, because I know as a creative person, if I didn't have all that energy that someone has when you're creative, if it doesn't have anywhere to go, that isn't flowing, that stifles up in you. I mean, that's literally unhealthy. I'm not speaking metaphorically or trying to be airy-fairy about it. It's literally unhealthy to not have that telos, that becoming what you're supposed to be in the world and expressing what you are and growing into the talents you have. And there's a lot of people now that will have these outlets as a kind of work that we're doing increases. And that's one of the things I'm most excited about, to be part of that and to help other people do that.
Yeah, it really is opens up a lot of exciting possibilities. And the fact that Prometheus Rising is going to be a better book because of the assistance, it's going to reach more people because of, just for example, the great artwork that's going to end up going in it, that's going to help to realize the vision that I can see and that I know and is going to work. I know that needs to be there. But I am utterly incapable. I could do worse than that. Lord Wolfshield sent a hilarious picture to me on Twitter and said that he could do the artwork, and he's got two stick men, and one has no beard and it says like wimpy wimpy, and the other one has like a big beard and it says hefty hefty. That's better than I can do. I can ruin a stick man. I see Carlisle is here. Great to see you, dear lady. I hope you're feeling wonderful. And folks, if you go over to knowwhiteguilt.org, you'll find the audio-only version of this past Sunday's Going Free episode, and you will see Carlisle's links there, knowwhiteguilt.org, and you will be able to reach out to her, assist her, and see the work that she has going on. Hendrickson has here. This on Sunday was asking quite a few times, tell us about the artist with the pumpkin that was trying to get to carve the pumpkin, and she's yelling that she's an artist. Yes, that was, I'll just summarize because we got to get on to the story, but maybe I'll tell it at length again next time, brother. But yes, there was, when I was trying to get the pumpkins carved, I reached out and a woman responded, said she could do it. When I reached out, I had the images of, this is the talent I want. And can you do this? I'm an artist. This is what she writes back. And well, I'm really, and I spell this out again. I go back at her again. Can I do this? I said, I'm an artist is what she writes. So I'm thinking, wow, what a real ass, right?
That's what a women's studies professor told her. You're an artist.
Yeah, you're an artist. So you just keep saying that. So it's just like,
okay, enough, you become an artist, don't you know?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like saying you're a welder means you can weld all things, or saying that you are in science means you can do all sciences. I mean, it's just stupid. But yeah, I just went back and forth like that a couple times, and then finally came back, and she was like, "Well, I can do this," and had like a witch, like something I could do, carved into a pumpkin. No, that's nothing like what I showed you. You agreed to these images in the ad that said you could do this. You don't come to me and say, you're an artist, you could do it. How dare you, question my artistic ability. I'm an artist, I told you. And then come back and say, look, I can carve like this witch into the side of a pumpkin. So essentially that's I'll tell, maybe next Halloween, we'll go into the full story again, play by play of what happened with that crazy, I'm an artist, how dare you ask.
Yeah, Jason told that story on our big Halloween special. And if you want to go listen, find it somewhere in that long stream. It's on theafterparty.tv.
Yes, indeed.
All cataloged, people.
Mr.
If you're wondering if someone's been on, go search a name on our site. See if they've been a guest.
Precisely. And I see that Apple Pie just joined the channel again under a name that's a little easier for me to say. Thank you so much, dear friend. Now, let me ask you, did you receive a welcome message on YouTube through the community tabs link? If so, or if not, please let me know. That'd be fabulous. Mr. Booga is asking about, says, everyone seems to favor Prometheus Rising, but my personal favorite is Crucible. Any plans for that? Actually, when I created the whole idea of Born Guilty, that was exactly part of my plan. There would be some that would absolutely favor Prometheus Rising, some that would absolutely favor Crucible. Crucible will be coming in a print and Kindle version after we have Prometheus Rising and print and Kindle version. And then immediately after that, I'll be working on the audiobook version of Prometheus Rising. So thank you for that question. And also thank you for the gratitude on Crucible. I see Watch Rider and Caper Mel is here. Hello to you. Great to see you. Well, we had this story and it seems to be everywhere. I really don't care about it, but for some reason it's all over Twitter. Cosmopolitan, this vulgar magazine that, ladies and gentlemen, do not buy this vulgar anti-white rag. I mean, it not only is a vulgar anti-white rag, it's talking about all of these different, you could do this sexual, that sexual, and it should be in the pornographic section, the kind of things that I've seen in this magazine before. It is filthy. And I see white moms buying it for their like preteens and early daughters. Young girls. Little girls are opening these things, and this is how to pleasure your boyfriend. Are you kidding me? And now I have no doubt that they're saying this, young lady, is how you pleasure your girlfriend, or this is how, young lady, you
I'm sure
like a man. This is how you become a boy. It's just absolutely repulsive. I have no doubt about it. And it's utterly run by anti-whites. Everything about it is anti-white. Do not buy this filth. So not only does it have,
what is the wise counsel at Cosmopolitan magazine given us?
What have
I don't know what you're about to say. This is totally off the cuff, folks.
Yes, I didn't even know. I was sent this, so I haven't read it yet myself. But I know that everybody's talking about it. So it's supposedly a big deal out in the vague land, which is good because they are a lot of these civnats, a lot of these folks who have been pacified by having Donald at the White House. A lot of those folks that have been pacified, and they think, well, everything's going to be fine because Donald is at the White House, this carnival barker. They see this sort of thing, and that causes them to raise an eyebrow. And but I did want to say about this magazine, and not only is everything they write in it garbage, the ads garbage, but it smells like it's refuse. I mean, what do you think? It's full of these perfume ads, and they all mix together. It's like this poisonous, noxious concoction. This miasma just rings the magazine, and you see people falling over like flies dead at the magazine.
Globalist cauldron.
Yeah, because they get close enough to this poisonous anti-white rag that you know what's happening. And that's also your little girls. They're also getting high off the fumes of this garbage. So Cosmopolitan has decided to skip Bachelor Pete and Victoria's cover for a good reason, it says here. and you have this young lady here. She may have, maybe somebody could tell me about this young lady here. I guess she's the one in question, and somebody could tell me whether or not she identifies as white, or whether or not she has something else in her background that she actually identifies in. Now, this is pertinent to the story because Monday's episode of The Bachelor, apparently this is still a show, featured a group date in Costa Rica, where you could get the coronavirus or just corona drunk, and where a photo shoot for Cosmopolitan magazine took place. The prize, after the contestants, is that what they're calling them, posed for a fashion spread in bikinis, which was awarded to the woman with the most chemistry with, is that what they call the transmission of bodily fluid? Chemistry? The most chemistry with Peter, which seems like a lovely, attractive young white man here. The prize was a digital cover shoot for this filthy rag. So they were going to be apparently on the front, and this is perhaps this is what always happens with the winners of this horrible game, I guess is what it is, where they exchange diseases and old tales of diseases gained and given long past. But so they were going to, this was going to be their surprise. Victoria F took, well, this isn't Victoria F. So she must have a last name. So Cosmopolitan hates.
Maybe there's another Victoria on the show. And that's how they differentiate.
Well, no. I mean, why not use her last name? But Cosmopolitan hates her so much that they're not even going to use her last name. And this is good. Let all the vagues see this. Victoria F took the prize and the photo shoot. But if you're hoping to see the digital cover on Cosmopolitan's website, so it wouldn't be on the magazine, it'd be on the website.
Okay.
You're out of luck. The cover will not be published. And it all comes down to another past shoot. Victoria.
Did she say something wrong?
No, it's a past shoot.
Did she do something wrong?
She did something wrong.
Did she commit a heresy?
She did. And that's what's great. I hope
maybe we can have her on tap next. If she's hiding her last name, you know that she did something good. You're hiding her last name.
No, I think she's some sort of wannabe celebrity. And so I think she would like her last name to be known. But if
they're hiding her last name.
They are hiding it. Well, they despise her.
She must have rattled some cages. Well, probably, you know what? Probably not, because in our mind, we're thinking, oh, yeah, she probably said something quite positive. And what I'm about to hear is probably going to be so mild and milquetoast. And to us, we'll say, that's it. It's nothing. But nothing. Out there in that world, it's big. You can't say her last name.
I tell you what's big is that
they refer to us in a Cosmopolitan article. If we were ever in a Cosmopolitan artitle for maybe like widgets, like just like symbols, they can't. It wouldn't even be
a first name.
It would be nothing. Not even first names.
Just some awful, just a ink blot. What's big is that Imminent Rain has shown up in the live chat today. Great to see you, Luke Mason, everyone, making the Prometheus Rising, the story of Prometheus Rising, into an entire album and doing a magnificent job. Eagerly looking forward to the next installment from that album. But this is the reason why. Victoria over here, the reason why there's not going to be a digital cover is because she did a past shoot that did not sit well with Cosmopolitan's anti-white values. In a letter posted on the magazine's website, editor-in-chief Jessica, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to not give Jessica's last name, just the first names and the energy they conveyed through the camera lens. It wasn't until a few weeks ago that I found out that the woman I'd chosen had in her past modeled in an ad campaign wearing White Lives Matter attire. Can you believe this?
All right, this is pretty good. This is pretty good.
This is interesting. White Lives Matter.
I think we need to have Victoria F on tap.
Let's find Victoria
wearing her shirt the whole time.
Yes, wearing her.
She'll be well covered up.
Let's see. It goes on here. The editor's post goes on to explain. It's been said that Victoria's photo shoot was for a Marlin Lives Matter organization focused on preventing white and blue marlin from being overfished, which used White Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter messaging on its promotional shirts and hats. So she didn't even mean it for white people. She meant she was hired as a babe in a bikini to wear a shirt that said White Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter to protect the white and blue marlin. And because she got stuff that's heresy.
So it's about fish.
It's about fish.
Oh.
It's about fish.
The world of clowns.
Yes, the
So
clown.
I'm seeing. Wait, I'm trying to find this, and they're putting her next to pictures of guys with Confederate flags on the back of their shirts. I guess they're trying to.
Is this what you pulled up? You found something like this?
No. She's not literally next to them. It's they're like editing it or trying to make a comparison. I don't know. It's not even coming up right now. For some reason, the picture's not enlarging. Victoria F. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what her background is. I don't know if she's really.
Well, no. This is absolutely great.
One of us.
Yeah. Well, it's absolutely.
If she were wearing a White Lives Matter shirt that, God forbid, talked about the actual white people and not just fish, then of course that's nice. Either way, we don't care.
No.
As we said, you can be non-white and be white positive. We know that. But so the fact that it was for the Marlin, and then this Cosmo editor or whoever this woman is who makes these decisions, the Marlin thing, was that a little description paragraph, or because forgive me, I was looking up the pictures for a minute because I might have missed this, or is the woman making these decisions, the woman making the decisions at Cosmo, aware of the fact that the White Lives Matter shirt was in that context of the Marlin thing?
I think yes, she's aware of it, but it doesn't matter.
Aware of it, and even so,
being white lives,
that's too much.
Yes, white lives are not supposed to matter, according to Cosmopolitan. And even these thespians, these actors, they can't even pull off the stunt of pulling heartstrings for white and blue marlin without being fed to the anti-white machine and their purity spiraling. So it says here, what's the final? What does it say here? In my view, the nature of the organization is neither here nor there. Both phrases and the belief systems they represent are, now get this. This is the people from Cosmo. This is the woman with a last name that begins with a P, which I won't read. Says, quote, in my view, the nature of the organization, in other words, the organization that was trying to bring attention to the overfishing of white and blue marlin, the nature of that organization is neither here nor there. Her horns grow and her fangs come out as she says this. Both phrases, White Lives Matter and Blue Lives Matter, and the belief systems they represent are rooted in an anti-white slur. So rooted in care for white people, rooted in a concern for white well-being, and therefore problematic, says the woman from Cosmo. Unequivocally, the White Lives Matter movement does not reflect the value of the Cosmo brand. So they hate white people who pay their salaries with all of their dollars. It's the majority of people who are buying Cosmopolitan are white women, and whether they're teenagers or mothers or mothers buying for their daughters or older white women, it is all being paid for. All of their salaries, their Jaguars, their yachts, their trips to Bermuda, all of this all around, their penthouses that they live in, the penthouses that they work in, all paid for by these white dollars. And it absolutely, unequivocally, the White Lives Matter movement does not reflect, because only the White Lives Don't Matter movement reflects Cosmo's brand. We stand, she further says, in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and any cause that fights to end, of course, she says here, injustice for people of color. There's no injustice. What preposterous. So any cause that we stand with, any cause that inflicts harm on Western kind and Western civilization. That's the translation, folks. You need to learn how to read anti-white. And once you learn how to read anti-white, it comes out black and white, very clear and very acidic. This is the team at Cosmo, and this is what happened. It's a wonderful thing. It needs to not be when you talk, if you get an opportunity to talk to friends and family that are vagues or strangers that are vagues and they know about this and it's going to be on their lips, you can take this opportunity to point out that this young lady here, whether she is white or has something else in the background, identifies as white or whatever it might be, it's better if she's not white, and better that if she doesn't identify as white. So that you can say, look, even a non-white person who does an advertisement to bring awareness to the overfishing of blue and white marlin is persecuted by anti-whites because the phraseology is close enough that it shows concern for the welfare and well-being of white people. Are you starting to wake up yet?
But we have privilege.
Right. So did anybody say whether she's white or not, or what her background is? It really doesn't matter. Just go ahead and say that she's not white, or that she probably does. My guess is that she's close enough to say, well, she's not white. And this is what I've said before when it comes to who's white and who's not. Conflict and time is going to make that decision for us. Those who can get away with saying they're not white, they're going to say they're not white. You won't have to make the decision for them. So whether they are thespians on the stage or whether or not they are modeling for Marlin gear or on thespians on the television show, of course, all of that is rigged. The exchange of bodily fluids, that's real, but the rest of it is rigged. So make sure that you talk about it this way. We got other titles. We're rapidly running out of time tonight.
And I think we have another aquatic animal that needs to be
Marlin,
a logo for the show, and maybe an emoji. Yeah, looks like the white marlin.
The white marlin.
Maybe the white and the blue together though to show.
Oh, you're right.
Solidarity
for those.
Yeah, that's amazing that it's too close to something that could be construed that way, as you just said. I mean, that really shows the game. These people are insane.
Yeah, well,
Actually insane.
Well, and we have news titles like this: Twitter launches reporting feature for political election misinformation in the United States. So they'll be deciding for you, Twitter, that what you're sharing is misinformation if it undermines the anti-white narrative, and they'll just delete it and delete you. I see One Eye Moon has written here, an Irish politician, Mary, we'll just stick with the trend tonight. Mary M. spoke of an analogy of our flag, saying, quote, Ireland is no longer green and orange. We are Rainbow Nation, but our flag is green and white and gold. What an absolute moron that anti-white Mary M. is. And of course, we see down in South Africa what happens to white people when they have rainbow nations. We are butchered. So that's what she's promoting.
Under the rainbow, I don't want to take that trip.
Right. It's the wood chipper at the end of the rainbow.
Jason, I think to intrigue people, we should name this episode Jared and Jason Discuss Cosmopolitan Magazine. That'll get a lot of clicks. Because people will say, what could these guys possibly be reading Cosmopolitan Magazine for? Not really in our character.
No, it's not. But, well, I mean,
it's not clickbait, but we literally did talk about a Cosmo article.
Yeah, I might have to even use it as a thumbnail. Make
not false advertising.
Exactly. She wasn't on the show, but she was the topic of the show. We got a few more comments coming in, but yeah, this is important news.
Hey.
What's that?
Jared G and Jason K discuss Victoria F. Was it Victoria?
Yes.
It was Victoria, yeah.
We have here also, because we just had the Super Mind Control Bowl, just came to its conclusion, and too bad it wasn't the last one. But it says here, Fox allows Super Bowl ad with drag queens, won't approve pro-life commercial. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, as I read all of this, you know the drill. It's all fake. None of it's true. You have to ask YouTube and Snopes and CNN. They are the only ones who have the truth. According to NBC News, this year's big game between Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers will include a commercial featuring drag queens, LGBTQ activists. Meanwhile, pro-life advocates with the New Faces of Choice organization said they have been waiting at least 6 months for an answer from Fox about their ad. The drag queen ad from Sabra already is stirring up controversy. It features drag queen Kim C and Ms. C from some disgusting show. I won't even mention the name. But yes, it goes on. What a surprise. This is what they're doing. When you let your children watch, so many people allowed their children to watch this filth over Sunday. And this was the kind of anti-white pabulum that they were given. And so remember, ladies and gentlemen, this sports ball, if you want to have it as something you watch from time to time, so be it. But you're being poisoned by it. The mean pathogens are hitting you all day long. They did a halftime show that was, I understand, mostly in Spanish, had children running by these women with very large rear ends that were shaking their rear ends, right? Sexualizing the children. And what are these Celebes crested macaques that they did not have on the stage there? But they maybe next year they'll have some Celebes crested macaques, because those are lovely animals. If you look them up, they have quite a rear end on them as well.
Yes. I know the kind you're talking about.
We have here,
you.
Yes, indeed. We have here exclusive. Now, this one is very concerning. Conservative student charged with terrorism, held without bail for weeks for posting picture of rifle on social media. So listen to this again, ladies and gentlemen, may or may not be true. Lucas Gerhard, a 20-year-old student who was enrolled at Lake Superior State University, LSSU, in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, has been charged with making terroristic threats and faces years in prison for posting a picture of a legally obtained rifle on social media. Gerhard posted a picture in August 2019 of his new firearm to a private Snapchat group with classmates, claiming that his AR-15 rifle would, quote, make the snowflakes melt. When he returned to campus, the reference meant that the far left students would be triggered by his possession of the rifle, and it would literally melt snow, as the LSSU campus is located in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, renowned for its icy conditions. You see, folks, whatever you do in this world, all things tie together. All things have an anti-white subtext under the anti-white regime and inside of the anti-white narrative. Even if you are trying to bring attention to the overfishing of blue and white marlin, you are going to be persecuted if you appear to be a heretic. Even if you make a joke about melting snow with your legally obtained rifle as a child, as a young man, you are going to be persecuted as a heretic by the anti-whites. Taking this bad boy up, this ought to make the snowflakes melt. And I mean snowflakes as in snow, is what this young man actually wrote. I mean snowflakes as in snow, close quote. He wrote on social media, according to a transcript of the preliminary examination obtained by this news source. Quote, I see the picture, and when he said, like, oh, wait, let me back up here. One classmate in the private group who stated in court proceedings that she did not feel threatened by the post at all showed the picture to a anti-white leaning female student. You see, folks, it actually said left leaning, but we don't say that in the actual story of Western Kind. That's their verbiage. So showed the picture to an anti-white leaning female student who copied the image on her phone before she filed a complaint to the district supervisor. It was then kicked up because these are the heroes. Remember, these are the tolerant ones, ladies and gentlemen, the anti-whites. It was then kicked up to so this was a private message to a private Snapchat group where a young man who had legally obtained a rifle said it was going to melt the snowflakes, and by that he means snow where they go to school. And then this anti-white little bitch saw this, decided to take a photo of it, and then run off to file a complaint to a district supervisor. It was then kicked up to campus public safety, who got the Sault Ste. Marie police involved in the matter. I see the picture. And when he said, make the snowflakes melt, it kind of made me assume that, kind of like as with the gun, and shoot other civilians and stuff with it, close quote. Brilliant. She's probably a straight A student. The woman who initiated the report said during questioning, she also mentioned that media coverage about mass shootings contributed to her panic when seeing the weapon, and admitted to having prior political disputes with Gerhard over political matters. And of course, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, that ultimately these are racial matters. Before Gerhard was even alerted to the controversy, he checked in his rifle and ammo at the campus armory, as is required by the LSSU. Police came, and Gerhard consented to a search of his room, but they found nothing except a BB gun and a few hunting knives. Gerhard told police that he deleted the Snapchat post after people commented about it possibly being offensive in nature, and he was compliant with law enforcement while they questioned him. Gerhard alerted his father, Mark, who drove hundreds of miles to campus from the Metro Detroit area to offer his son moral support. Despite the alleged terrorist emergency on campus, nothing was locked down and no precautions were taken by authorities. In other words, anti-whites wearing crowns of feathers and covered in the blood of white people. The Gerhards expected things to blow over, considering Lucas did nothing but exercise his First and Second Amendment rights. However, that was not the case, as Lucas was apprehended the next day. He would be detained for several months in county jail. LSSU president, losers, sycophants, and suckers at this university, President Rodney, we'll just say his first name, sent out a self-congratulatory letter for removing the so-called terror threat, despite the fact that Lucas was allowed to walk around campus freely after the complaint was filed. They also gave Lucas his room key and allowed him access to virtually every building on campus while announcing nothing to the campus about the complaint. Henley told Rodney called on other students to similarly spy on their peers, to police the wrong think on campus in his email. Quote, today at approximately 8:45 a.m., Sault Ste. Marie police, I can't do their accent, and public safety officers removed an individual from campus. The individual is allegedly responsible for a social media posting that was potentially threatening to a dim-witted, airheaded, vapid anti-white little girl with straight A's at this school. To the safety and well-being of the LSSU community, the loser president wrote, we are certain that the individual involved is no longer in the campus vicinity. The public safety department takes this type of messaging seriously. Don't tell a joke, ladies and gentlemen. You'll go to jail if you're a heretic. And the university is working closely with the police department during this investigation because they want to ruin this young man's life, which, by the way, the photo of the young man here, he's decorated in awards, military awards for the ROTC or whatever this is that he is in, Scouts of America, whatever that he was in. I'm sure he'll be kicked out of that group because of what is going to happen to him, victimized by the anti-whites. Let's see. His father is a retired Marine colonel, has worked for many years in the federal government, says he understands why they would take a threat seriously, but doesn't understand why prosecutors would continue pursuing such a case when it is abundantly clear that his son poses no threat to public safety. Well, we know, Dad, we know exactly why, because they're anti-white and you all are white. And if you don't pull your Civnac asses. Reach down, open your ass, pull your head right out of it. If you do not get your Sivnat heads out of your asses, you're never going to know. And you're not going to know until the woman I talked to today said they're not going to get it until they're started being put into camps, until they round them up and say, here's your camp. You'll finally get it. You better get it from this. You better understand that this is what they're going to do to us. This is the dilation of the law. Some twit of a female decided that she felt uncomfortable, and now this young man's record is going to be destroyed if he doesn't actually end up going to prison for however long the possibility is. But I'll stop with that story. We have one more, and I'll get your thoughts, Jared, and anything we can find from the audience before we touch upon the final story, which is a doozy. That mute button is on the
read the next. Yeah, you could go on and just read the next one.
All right. Let's see what anybody had. JC said the terms left and right should be restricted to those who can only think in one dimension. Maybe one day they will learn there is a y-axis as well. Very well stated. Yes, indeed. Justin Lee, if they came to take the AR-15s, they'll use AR-15s to do so. Cops have them in their trunks. That's right. JT Smith says, hello. Great to see you, good brother. We're going to get on to the last story, folks, because we got to wrap up and get back to work. Okay. Oh, it's called Sue. All right. Saint Marie. Because the population is so vastly non-white. Oh, in Canada. So no surprise in his legal treatment. Thank you so much. All right. Let's get on to the final story. You all are going to really like this. And thank you to the gentleman who will remain anonymous who sent these stories to me. Convicted of sex crimes. And again, you know the drill. Maybe false, just ask YouTube if it's real or not. This is, I'll go ahead and say the name of this because this seems so outrageous. This is the Des Moines Register. So you can head over to their website if you want to look at this story. This is absolutely regime news. They have a CNN video that plays live right on their website. So go on over there if you want to look for this. But even still, it might be fake. Ask YouTube. The Iowa, convicted of sex crimes as a man. Felon no longer deemed threat because of gender change. The Iowa Attorney General's office is no longer seeking the commitment of a former Midwest Christian Services student convicted of myriad sex crimes because the individual now identifies as a woman. Court records show the state dismissed the application on January 9. Attorney General's spokesman, Lynn Hicks, wouldn't comment on the reason for the dismissal other than to say, quote, an offender's hormone levels are an important part of substantiating an offender's likelihood of recidivism, close quote. So in other words, if you're a woman, you don't commit crime. You only commit crime when you're a male. In November, the Storm Lake Times reported that Joseph Matthew Smith, a 23-year-old convicted of molesting a fellow MCS student in 2014, was, quote, undergoing medical treatment that is needed prior to Smith's potentially undergoing gender reassignment surgery. Smith has received treatment for gender reassignment over the past 2 years at Newton Correctional Facility. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you and Jared George and myself are paying for this deranged, child molesting monster to have a sex change. She first expressed a desire to, quote, get started on the transgender classification in October 2017 and started using female pronouns. Smith has expressed a preference to identify as Josie, according to court documents. We don't believe we have evidence sufficient to prove Smith has a significant chance of reoffending, Hicks said late last week. An Iowa Department of Corrections spokesman said Smith was transferred on Saturday to the Sioux City. Well, how does that make a comeback? Residential treatment facility for transitional release. He did not say when Smith will be released. Hicks cautioned the public not to overreact to Smith's upcoming release just because this was a male who was guilty of myriad sexual crimes against children, and then you had to pay, you were forced at gunpoint to pay for him beginning on hormone treatments so that he could get out of jail. Don't overreact just because we're going to release him. We are likely to round you up for camps if you do that. It'll prove that you're a heretic. Smith will still, poor deer, this little deer. I mean, you really got to look up this deer. This is a lovely woman. When you get a look at this honey, Smith will be subject to sex offender registration requirements for the rest of her life, Hicks said, which includes regular meetings with a probation officer and a listing on an attorney general clearinghouse. Oh, poor dear. What a lovely life that has been broken because of this horribly oppressive white race who has required this clearly a non-white male child molester guilty of myriad sexual crimes against children, who then we, the white population of the United States, are forced at gunpoint by the anti-whites to pay for hormone replacement therapy or hormone change therapy so that this male can take female hormones and then demand that we call him a her. And so she's a lovely lady now and going to be released because she's such a lovely lady. Got a strong chin, kind of a really whiskery face, and she's
a handsome woman,
but very lovely. I mean, who wouldn't want to pick this thing up and just run her right home, show her to mom? So this is real, ladies and gentlemen. But you can.
Are these the plea deals that they're giving him now?
Yeah. Well, if you.
All right. Look. How can we get you out of this? You want to become a woman? If you become a woman, we can get you off with probation. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, seriously,
lawyers specializing in this now about, well, if we change your gender, how can we? What is I don't know what does common law say about that? What does the Magna Carta say about that?
Yeah. Can you just call me a she now and give me some estrogen pills and the doors of the prison will fly open. What is to stop this from being done by every non-white or white criminal, all the criminals now? What's to stop them from just all saying, I'm a female now, give me some pills on the taxpayers' dollars, and now let's have judges and DAs reevaluate whether or not I really should be detained because my testosterone level has decreased.
Well, at least it might curtail their ability to spread those genes.
Well, yeah, until they get out of jail and stop taking those.
I'm trying to look at it on the bright side. Maybe they have to take so much that it permanently affects something. I don't know.
Well, I doubt it. No, they're not going to allow. They're going to allow them to flip back and forth, whatever they want. Whichever day of the week they want, and then there'll be another excuse made.
Why don't we try this? YouTube. I identify as a woman now. I, Jared George, identify as a woman now. Let's see.
Can you
tomorrow? Maybe I won't be shadow banned anymore. All of a sudden, my subscriber count goes up 10,000. All of a sudden, I get my old channel back. I identify.
Yes, suddenly it all comes back.
All of a sudden, the Great Order channel has been reinstated. And we kept all your videos and descriptions intact.
Yes. And we are going to return it all now that we know that you are a lady. Now, of course, there really is a really repulsive element to this, ladies and gentlemen. And that is the fact that there were a great many victims, white, non-white, doesn't matter, that this animal, this monster molested a great many children, convicted of myriad sex crimes. Now, this person, this Lynn Hicks, is a real piece of filth, anti-white piece of filth, because she's saying, go ahead and release this person. We're not going to seek to keep this monster in. Anybody who's molesting children is a monster. We're not going to seek to keep this monster. I mean, what crime is now, unacceptable? The only crime that's unacceptable now is caring about white well-being. You can molest children and they'll let you go, and they'll say, well, even though one person was victimized or 20 people were victimized, and they are going to live with this trauma for the totality of their life, the psychological trauma for the totality of their life, almost assuredly physical trauma for the totality of their life. But this guy is always going to be, or this beautiful young woman here is always going to be on a sex offender list. So what? How in the hell is that commensurate with the pain that this monster inflicted, male or female, that he or she or it is? How in the hell is that the same thing? It's not. All that matters is that he might go out, she might go out and harm more people. And some of those people are going to be white victims. And by releasing this person, it harms our criminal justice institution, which is part of Western civilization, harming us as a people. Allowing somebody to walk like this, it harms us by harming the mechanisms by which we protect our civilization. And then from a global view, a bird's eye view, looking down on the whole thing, it harms a much greater aspect of our biosphere, which is that people are punished for crimes, not just because they harm another individual and we want to make amends for the harm that was done to an individual, but because, for God's sakes, we want civilization. If there isn't a social contract that states that in this society that we're going to have, that you will not be raped, you will not be murdered, you will not be molested as a child, if we don't have this top-down system in place that ensures that irrespective of whoever the victim is or whatever happened to the victim, that a villain like this will be punished, then there is no social contract. There is nothing for you to be part of, and it becomes the law of the jungle again. Our Western civilization completely crumbles. This is the actual undergirding of Western civilization that Hicks knows very well, that she chips away at, she inflicts harm at by allowing Smith, the beautiful young lady with the hair all over her face, to walk free from. It wouldn't even matter if this Smith never committed another crime. Hicks is harming Western civilization by allowing Smith to go free because of what it does to the undergirding that is the moral structure, the agreement between people, the tacit agreement between individuals that we've gotten too far away from. That if we're going to be in a civilization, then there has to be givens in that civilization. They don't, ladies and gentlemen, why do they? It's like when you're looking at when a cougar kills or when a bear kills a person in civilization, where we have built civilization. And we have not lived, and it's to say, of course, because the anti-whites are in charge, because there have been malefactors who have been white, who have been at the head of our civilization as well over time, different individuals cycling through. We haven't lived in harmony with nature as well as we could have, as well as we want to. But when we do have these cases where a grizzly bear, say, kills a human being, or a mountain lion kills a human being, the posse goes out and kills the grizzly bear or kills the cougar. They try to get the one that did it, not because the grizzly bear or the cougar understands that it's being punished and therefore we're making right for a human being that suffered as a consequence, but because we are setting a context in place that teaches these animals that to come near people, and it teaches them by way of which ones get to reproduce, teaches these animals that you come near people, you harm people, you die. That's why you have animals like cougars and things like this that stay far away from people regularly. Bears and wolves, they stay far away from us because the ones that didn't reproduce. They ended up dead. So that is the undergirding level. That is the depth of what is being ruined here by anti-whites like Hicks, and they know exactly what they're doing when they release monsters like Smith, the lovely lady. So any thoughts, Jared? And we'll see what anybody else has to say, see if there were any super chats, and then...
I'm actually just marking the time that you just said that because I really, speaking of my YouTube channel, I need to be making more clips. And if we're doing these shows, I'm not doing as much videos. I'm trying to get to making more clips from these shows. And that was a really important point. I don't have anything to add you said what needed to be said, but the deeper level about civilization, it comes up, but it needed to be said about this particular case, and that would make a good clip. So I was just making a note. But excellent point there.
Well, thank you, my dear brother. Let's see if we do over here on Ko-fi. Tall Kevin is over here. Thank you, my dear friend, with $3. Thank you so much for that investment in service to white well-being. And writing here, speaking two languages, Polish and English, I'm always preaching about white well-being. I'm proud of going free and speak to both audiences to avoid a shameful misunderstanding like in the Cosmo article. Should I use the term white well-being in English, or should it be translated? Very good question, Tall Kevin. And what I have found so far is that when speaking with our brothers and sisters, their primary language is some language other than English. They usually find that using the English words and then translating them into as many words as necessary for their, in your case, Polish audience, Polish-speaking audience, will need to understand them. So it's the same way that in English we understand many, hold on one sec, just got an alert on the computer. We understand many words and phrases from other languages. We do the exact same thing. So a word can come to us like blitzkrieg, and it has a very specific meaning in German. And then to translate it to English, there need to be a few more words there, and we can then wrap our heads around it, and it becomes a concept for us that we understand. We can do the exact same thing with going free. If that doesn't make sense in your original language or your first language, or white well-being, if that doesn't make sense, you can explain what the concept means, and then they can very easily learn those English words, white well-being, and they can say those words. I have heard since, over the past 3 years, 4 years, maybe now, I have heard our brothers and sisters who have languages other than English as their first language, speaking in their first language, and then they'll say going free, and then back to the other language, and then they'll say white well-being, and they understand what it means with whatever a construct needs to be made for the concept. So try it out, try it in English, tell them this is the English word, words, get them to repeat it, say this is what it means in toto, so that they understand it. So then when you repeat it each time, it brings to their mind each and every one of those sentences you used to define the statement and the concept for them. Thank you very much, Tall Kevin, for that great question and the super chat. Looks like we have over here Todd on Cash App. Thank you very much, good friend, as the screen loads for me. And I have to confirm your... I've got to confirm elsewhere. But Todd, you wrote something, I think. It won't let me see it. let me see while
you're looking for that. You made a good point about the blitzkrieg thing too, because I mean that's a word I've heard even as a kid, and it gets into your consciousness. You just kind of intuitively know what it means. So they're borrowed words. You just want to really watch out for if the word, if white well-being or going free or anything like that, if it sounded too much like something else in your native language that would confuse it, or especially if it was something that was vulgar, obviously then it would have to be changed. But if it doesn't have reference to something, it doesn't sound like something already in your language, then it can definitely be borrowed. We have words in English that are German, like the one Jason gave, or French, and just through context and hearing it a few times, it's just like any other word in the language. It gets absorbed into it.
Precisely. Let's see here. We can deal with these things on the fly. We can make it happen. So while that reloads and should work, we can come over here and open entropy, and we are blank on entropy, so we didn't miss anybody over there. That's good. Let's come back over here. And Todd, we are finally able to see what you wrote. Thank you very much for the $20 investment in service to white well-being, and saying here, thank you, my white brother. Well, thank you much in return, white brother. That is most kind of you. And we appreciate your service to White Wellbeing. Let me take a quick look and see if we missed anybody's questions or comments. And then we're going to roll out Hansa. It's to keep that particular animal from killing again. Animals don't learn. Yes, they don't want that animal to kill again, but there's the bigger issue is to kill the animals that will come and eat people or harm people so that they don't reproduce. The reason why these animals don't come close to you now, whereas you can go to these islands or what have you that never saw people, and the animals will waddle right up to you. They don't know any better. If they don't see you as a predator, they just think you're out there going to graze alongside of them. Is because the ones that were brave enough to come up to you have that genetic propensity in them, haven't been killed off. That hasn't been killed out. It's the same way we took wolves, but the other direction, and made them into the different dog breeds that we wanted. The wolves that acted in ways that were unproductive to our companionship and our ability to work together for the benefit of both species, they didn't get a chance to reproduce. We put it into them. And so that's why all of these animals...
Maybe we'll do that with sea lions next. Many of you have been watching After Hours for the last few weeks.
Right. So yes, it is both for the animal in question, but also the species of animal in general. A great many wolves, for example, had to be killed to teach wolves to stay away from hunting humans. Could you and Jared maybe discuss the subject for a bit, if you don't mind, about getting vehemently anti-white family members out of our lives? Well, that's kind of a big one, and we're getting ready to check out here. And let me just also really quickly say that it's the word probably, Hansa, of teach that is tripping you up. And I'm not using the word teach literally. I'm using the word teach figuratively. We are preventing the aggressive individuals from of different species from reproducing, and therefore you end up with different types of animal species that are very wary of human contact.
It's eugenics.
Yes.
I'd address the person that asked this if you want to say a few things, but I did mention how it's come up on taps. It's definitely come up a lot on your Going Free streams, and we could make a note to maybe hit it in its full depth soon. Maybe next week. Maybe make a note to start After Hours with that next week.
We have the Alex Simpson. They just removed an anti-white sister from my life when discovering that she and her anti-white, non-white boyfriend are raising their biracial daughter anti-white. Getting started early at the age of 1 to grow up in adulthood to be yet another victimizer of our people. Gosh, that is, how tragic is that? Yeah, we will absolutely speak to this, and we'll make a note to speak to this. And yeah, like you said, Jared, maybe on tap coming up. That is absolutely, how tragic is that?
Or After Hours next week we could do.
Yeah. Okay. So it looks like we've just about covered. I don't see, unless I missed something. I'll take another quick look at entropy. But otherwise, it's a good thing I did, because Jake is over here. Showed up on entropy with $5. Thank you, my dear friend. You guys influenced me to have a stronger sense of my roots and love for my family. Thanks, guys. Well, much love in return.
Glad to hear.
Yeah, thank you for that fantastic testimony for the work that we are doing in service to White Wellbeing. Jared, any final thoughts as we get ready to check out of here tonight?
Well, I mentioned we have a tap guest lined up, so it's looking like we're going to do Saturday night this week. It's going to be a rare, special Saturday night tap. We don't have a time locked down quite yet, but it's Eke Lux, and some of you may have known him from an After Hours that we did, I think back in December, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
And some of you may know from his streams, but his streams are kind of like underground radio or music that gets passed around on a cult scene. He has a very specific way of doing things and a very specific style, but he's well informed about a lot and is a really interesting guy to talk to. Actually, he was on It's Late Night Somewhere, our audio only show last year, and he's never done a full tap. So you're going to get to hear a little about where he's coming from, and then he's a fun guy to talk to about just the circus that's 2020 and how the year's begun so far. He's been following the coronavirus thing. He's been following the gun grab thing, saying that even after the march, there's been some bills, or well, he'll explain it to us, but stuff that the state of Virginia is trying to do, kind of in the darkness of night, undercover, all kinds of things going on, all kinds of the politics and the Democrats and what they're up to. But he has an interesting take on it. He's not just one of these news readers. You'll have to take my word for it. He's a fun guy to talk to. Interesting guy. So he's going to be on tap on Saturday night. And then in 2 weeks from this Friday, we're going to have a multi-guest extravaganza, as it is our 2-year anniversary. 2 years of doing the show on Friday, February 21st. So gear up for that. It's going to be a longer tap with different guests coming in and coming out. And then we'll kind of see where the night takes us.
It's going to be
there's other celebrations. We'll see what happens. But definitely try to keep that. If you're in Eastern time, it'd probably be afternoon, late afternoon, and evening free parts of that on Friday the 21st. Going to have a big blowout that day. As mentioned earlier, too, my Red Ice video is out, so please check that out. Jason was on Red Ice helping Henrik co-host last week. All of that, of course, and more on the afterparty.tv. It's a running catalog of what we do and your community vids as well, so please go check it out. Sign up for the newsletter. Follow us there. You have links to our individual websites as well if you want to see some other things from us and ways to contact and all of that good stuff. But we'll be back later this week for TAP. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. And Jason, why don't you take us out?
Yes, indeed. Jared has covered just about everything, ladies and gentlemen. I will be on tomorrow on PWR with Mark. And I picked up the phone last week and called my good friend Jared Taylor and said, why don't you join us on PWR? You got a conference coming up. We can talk about that. So he's going to be there tomorrow.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yes, it's very exciting PWR tomorrow. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you do not miss it. Edgar Allan Poe says here, can you mention that I have an extra copy of Born Guilty for the first person to DM me about it on Twitter? You heard it, ladies and gentlemen. If you need a copy of Born Guilty, Edgar Allan Poe has one for you. Reach out and by way of DM to him on Twitter, and the first one gets the copy. Thank you so much for doing that, Edgar. And Jared and I will see you all on Saturday night, and it's going to be wonderful. So we'll see you then.